First and foremost, I wanted to make this clear that we are obliged to comply with our licenses requirement. Hello, I am Claire Farrugia. I am the Chief Compliance Officer and the MLRO of Andaria Group. So compliance is mandatory for us. New rules and new regulatory updates is not something that we have a choice whether to comply with or not. I think the trick is that we apply the requirements of any given legislation or regulation in a way that is practical, not just for us, but also for our customers. So the requirements that have been stipulated in detail by either the MFSA, the FIAU, or even at EU level needs to be complied with. But there's no one stopping us from making those rules practical for us. So different interpretations can be made from a specific regulation, but when you implement, you need to ensure that it works from a business perspective as well, not just from being compliant, but making sure that whether the product is affected or whether internal processes have been affected by the new legislation or regulation, we make it work to our advantage. And that in turn will allow us to give the customer a better customer journey, a safe one because it is compliant with the rules, and a better experience overall. So I think that is the trick into making good use of compliance practices. Yes, so one thing that sticks out to me in this question when it comes to ensuring that customers and businesses can trust us with their finances is the safeguarding of funds. So there is a specific regulation which gives out requirements on what has to be done when an institution, a regulated institution, handles client funds. In this regard, we cannot commingle funds that belong to our clients with funds that we use for an operational perspective. And also, these funds need to be put into accounts that are provided to us by reputable credit institutions, so banks, because Andaria is a financial institution and not a bank. So we need to safeguard these funds within accounts that are purely for safeguarding of funds. We never ever touch those funds for operational purposes, and it's important that they are never commingled with other funds. So in this respect, those funds, given that they are stored with a credit institution, they benefit from the depositor compensation scheme, which means that they have insurance over the funds that are held with a credit institution. And also, with that being done, customer can request the return of all his funds without any issues, because those funds are never touched by the institution, by Andaria, and therefore can be returned at the request of a customer. So I think that is why they should trust us with their finances. So first and foremost, I wanted to make this clear that we are obliged to comply with our licenses requirements. Therefore, we have a license in Malta and a license in the UK. our primary focus is always complying with the rules and legislation that apply to us from both of these jurisdictions. When it comes to the international side, we have to, first of all, make sure that we are not breaching any of the requirements when we operate through passporting, for example. Passporting allows us, through the Maltese license, to have freedom of services outside of Malta and within the EU. In this respect, research helps us with ensuring that when we are passporting our services to a host member state within the EU, we know full well what the requirements within that member state are, and also with the help of legal. So we have our legal team who can help us also get legal opinions in terms of the exact requirements that other regulators have in place for freedom of passporting of services and what is required from such member states to come to host states and provide their products within. So I think one good example will be the sponsorship product, and also when we deal with the voucher models as well. We will have to abide by the regulations of the countries within which these products will be made available. This is actually a tricky question. We are bound by laws that are coming out of the Maltese regulator and the UK regulator. So one thing that can be done, obviously it's hard, but it's also not impossible, is to seek a license in another country jurisdiction that falls outside the EU or the UK. This is with the intention of penetrating markets, for example, like North Africa, Asia, Middle East, depending on where we want to provide our product and services. With having a license in place, it opens up opportunities within other countries on an international basis. But before doing this, we are also applying with multiple service providers who can also be our correspondent banking providers that would allow us to support transactions on a more global scale. Obviously, keeping sure that the compliance part is still in full force, and we do it in accordance with what our license permits us to do. It's essential because we have a bit more competitive advantage, and when I say that, I mean we are principal members of 3 different card schemes now: Visa, MasterCard, and Discover. Discover will allow us issuance within the US, obviously within the constraints and rules that Discover has in place, because each scheme has its own regulations, has its own limitations and restrictions. They are not authorities, but they do regulate themselves with significant rule books that they publish for their own members. We are also looking into banking service providers that will allow us to support transactions on a more international level. So if we are able to support such transactions, then we are more attractive to customers who wish to do transactions across the globe. Obviously, there are limits because we do not allow transactions within very high-risk countries, such as countries that are sanctioned, for example, and countries where the risk is high because it's a war-torn country, for example. But we do also offer a multitude of different currencies which can be used by our customers by the provision of a multi-currency account, and these currencies we keep increasing over time. So customers will be able to perform transactions not only in Euro, GBP or USD, but they can even make transfers, for example, with Hong Kong dollar, as an example. I don't know by heart the full extent of our currencies, but I know there's quite a few available for our customers.